a heads up before we got started. And then also, anybody in the audience that is wishing to provide comments during the public comment segment, if you'll just submit your speaker card over here to me, and we will get you all set up and ready to go when we get to that portion of the meeting.
All right, thank you, Nikki. I guess right off the bat, have you all had an opportunity to read the minutes of the last meeting? I'd like to hear a motion to accept the minutes and move on.
So moved.
Second.
Motion moved and second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And opposed, no. Do we have a quorum? Not sure we do. I don't think we do. I don't think we do quite yet. Okay.
You know.
Okay, we've got a quorum, good. Got to get to her. Okay, do we have any public comments? If you do, we need to have your cards up here. We've got two. There are others, if you can bring them up here if you have opportunity to speak in a moment. Okay, first one is Myesha Mitchell, excuse me. Myesha.
And we have a microphone right up here.
We'll be speaking on food systems, food insecurity, and so forth.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning.
Hi, I'm Myesha Mitchell here in Tallahassee, Florida, 1009 Ellington Court, Tallahassee. Long-term resident, been in this community almost 80 years now and loving it every day. So I'm here today to speak to you about a very important issue that you're currently working on, and it's food insecurity. We know in our community, having had life experience myself over the years, I know what it's like to deal with hunger, and I understand the impact of aging out farmers right now and the young people who don't want to have anything to do with agriculture. So we are in a predicament, and I'm seeing this happening before my eyes every day. I'm concerned because I know that we can make a difference here today. You all, to the future way of thinking and looking at our world, if we'd like to have children who are healthy, children and families who are considered to be well and not suffering from long-term chronic illnesses and diseases that are preventable, if they're eating right, if we want families to be secure and knowing that they don't have to worry about where the next meal is coming from their children, we know the importance of this particular work you do today. So I ask you to really take this as a commitment towards the future for our children. How might we make sure that they are secured, that the families are secured, that Tallahassee, which is our all-American city, is standing up to that challenge? Are we an all-American city, as we say? What does that look like when it comes to food security? How do we make sure that not only people have shelter and good housing, but they have good food, clean, fair, affordable food that is, for me, a practical thing. It's a human rights issue, as I see it. So today, you have the power to make this decision, to make sure that this becomes a chartered idea, a pathway forward. You may never see the outcome, neither may I, but I can assure you that over the years, if we find our way to secure good food, healthy systems, and establish a food system that works, if you can only imagine a school board, cafeteria full of children eating healthy foods that come straight from the farmer, farm to table. The school has apparatus, they have particular equipment that they can help to chop up food so that the workers don't have to worry about cutting up collard greens. It takes too much energy and time for them. So if you have a school that's in a position to buy from the farmer, bring food healthy into our cafeterias that we serve our children, we won't have to worry so much about our children not having food over the summer because it'll be good, healthy food.
Ms. Mitchell, your time's up.
So I urge you to consider this becoming a chartered idea, not an ordinance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up is Camille Lewis. You have 3 minutes.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Camille Lewis. I am a lifetime Tallahassee resident. I am a local farmer. I sit on the board of the community co-op, and I currently serve as the director of the Jefferson County Extension Center and a 4-H youth development agent. I'm here today because the issue in Leon County is not a lack of programs, it's a lack of structure. Food efforts exist across departments. We have food pantries, we have emergency response, food distribution sites, but often these are without a single point of coordination, accountability, and long-term durability. These are not program failures, they are governance gaps. This is why a charter level response is appropriate. We are asking the county to set the structure and allow policy details to continue to flow. Specifically, we're asking this committee to advance charter language that declares food access and food system resilience as a county duty, establish an Office of Food Systems under the county administrator to coordinate and report across departments, require a county-wide food system plans with measurable goals and annual public reporting, and authorize minimum countywide standards. Programs can change, but structure endures. This approach will strengthen accountability, align existing investments, reduce duplication, and improve emergency readiness. My request is very simple. I'm asking that you advance a charter amendment that strengthens food access and security in Leon County by setting the durable structure and leaving the details to be figured out with public input. Set the structure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Lynn Jones. I think I forgot to ask everybody to give your name and address, or your address as well. 3 minutes. Thank you.
Morning. I am Lynn Jones, 3211 Notre Dame Street, 37-year retired Leon County school teacher. Every school that I work with, we had a garden. And I did that because I knew how important it was to have children participate in gardening activities. A lot of times, because children don't have that opportunity, they don't participate. So we have to give them those opportunities. Currently, in Tallahassee and surrounding counties, as Dr. Lewis has eloquently spoke about, we have those opportunities for the children to participate. We know that our gardeners and our farmers are getting a little, they're becoming seniors like me, and we can't go out in the garden like we used to. We can go it for a little while, but our job right now is to be master gardeners, to support the children who are learning how to garden. So as you look at this proposal for food security, I'm not saying food insecurity, because what we're trying to reach is food security. So as you look at this, think in terms of the ways that we can support children. I'm a member of BLAST, which is a science group in Leon County Schools, and currently they have grants for teachers. And I am proposing to the food advocacy program that I'm in currently that we reach out to these teachers, and as we develop our projects, that we include them in our projects so that we can get in the schools and make sure our kids are learning how to garden, learning how to be appropriate food, accepting appropriate food for their bodies. And maybe eventually they'll become gardeners and they will be our future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Next is Melanie Andrade. You have 3 minutes, and if you could give us your name and address fully. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Melanie Andrade. My address is 3349 Argonaut Drive. I live in District 3, and I'm here as a mom of 3, but I also have worked in public policy and government roles for the past 14 years in Tallahassee. And I'm a member and leader of Tallahassee African American Local Election Review Team. We are an organization that educates galvanizes, empowers the Black voters in Tallahassee to use their voices at forums such as this. And as you've guessed, I'm here to ask that you advance a charter amendment that strengthens food access systems in Leon County. I support what Dr. Camille Lewis said, but I want to add to that. I think that our county system is fragmented. For one, there's no single accountable lead for countywide coordination. There's no countywide baseline across city and county lines, and data transparency could be strengthened, for example, with annual scorecards and tract level targets. I understand that the county partnerships that we have with not-for-profit agencies exist to address this need, but I think that there are critical gaps in the implementation and the consistency of an infrastructure that serves not only the current community need, but also that are prepared to serve and address crises that we've already faced, like a pandemic, a government shutdown, or a natural disaster. I want to point out that the words food security are only mentioned one time in the 2022-2026 Leon County Strategic Plan on page 18, and it states, coordinate with America's second harvest of the Big Bend and the city of Tallahassee to conduct community meetings in the neighborhood block groups with greatest food insecurity to identify and address their specific barriers to food security. I think that one goal is not enough. A charter action is appropriate because it sets structure, not programs, and I'm asking you to let voters decide by directing county staff to draft charter language that does four things: creates an Office of Food Systems, establishes a county duty for food access and system resilience, requires a countywide food system plan with annual public reporting, and authorizes countywide minimum standards. So I just ask you today, please direct staff to bring back draft charter language for formal consideration. Thank you.
All right, thanks very much. Do we have other speakers? Not on the, okay, just to give you all kind of the overview of what we're doing today, you probably have already checked it out, but we have 4 items that we're going to go through, the staff report, things that we have asked for in the previous meetings. Some of these are not in order of appearance because some have taken quite a bit more time to sort of assemble what's really going on, isn't going on, and so forth. And so at our January 8th meeting, that's when we're going to be taking up the establishment of the Inspector General, Bill of Rights, and historic harm. Okay, so we have one more card. So at this point, Tiffany Hill. Tiffany Hill, there you are. Hey, 3 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Good morning. My name is Tiffany Hill. I reside at 1401 Lola Drive here in Tallahassee, Florida. And I wanted to speak on the funding mechanism for affordable housing. So what is affordable housing? So according to HUD, it is 30% of a person's income. So I think we need to look at, right now they're getting rid of a lot of the public housing. And so what public housing allow families is to basically be able to care for their loved one at home. So you have a lot of people that are on public housing because of disabilities. And so public housing allow for those people, caretakers, to be there with them without looking at their income. And so with public housing going away, it creates a strain on a lot of families who would like to keep their loved one at home. So I think that we need to come up with a plan or idea to create more housing that would provide for family members to be able to live at home with their loved one, and not oversaturate the assisted living facilities. If you ever been to the assisted living facilities, you'll see there's a lot of issues there that need to be cleaned up. But if we start developing housing areas to where a loved one can stay at home and be able to take care of that loved one who is disabled or elderly, I think that it could resolve a lot of problems with how to fund, and basically that's applying for HUD grants, getting with the housing authority to really build more infrastructure that is geared towards low income, disabled, and disabled people that need that assistance. And then that way we don't oversaturate our assisted living facilities. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Are there other speakers that I haven't heard from? Vice Chair Haynes points out that we didn't have a quorum when we approved the minutes of the last meeting. We didn't approve the minutes of the last meeting today. We didn't have a quorum.
We did. You were number 11.
I know, but you
I
voted
think
on
we'd
it.
already voted on it. We're going to vote again, just to be sure. All those in favor of approving the minutes from the last December 4th meeting, please say aye. Aye. And those opposed, don't you dare say no. Okay, thank you. Good?
Thank you.
We're good to go. All right. Thank you. Good to keep me on my toes here. All right, I guess first up in general business is going to be a status report on our request for information about city and county consolidation. And who's going to be taking that up? Is Ken?
Yes.
It's all yours. Thank you.
Madam Chair. And again, we have 4 items in your materials today. I'll introduce the first on city and county consolidation. The following 3, I'm going to hand off to my colleagues, Shinkton Lammy and Abby Thomas. There are human service experts, not just for the county, but the community. They could talk to you about trends and needs and the historic investment the county's made over the years in human service needs. They can talk about the CHSP process. They could talk about city investments. And that's why we group these items here together, just to give an opportunity for you all to understand what we do, where the gaps are, how it all works, how it all comes together between public and nonprofit agencies. They'll get into those items after we discuss the city and county consolidation. And then finally, we wanted to give you time, again, to give us input on any other charter amendment ideas, concepts you want to bring back for our future meetings.
Ken, can I just interrupt to say in your packet, it's on page 12 of the 66-page agenda items you got. Got it? Thank you.
Sorry we loaded you up with a big agenda packet. It's a lot of materials. In November, which seems like a long time ago, the county commission requested information, status report on city and county consolidation in our community, how it would work, some of the pros and cons of it. We prepared that item for the board's December 9th meeting. Now, just before that meeting, you all had your last charter meeting, and you requested that the materials for the board's meeting be presented today, just so you can review it and discuss it. So we've included the county commission's agenda materials in your packet. It's an attachment. And we provided a quick overview of how the charter process works, again, some of the pros and cons, the history in our community, but also statewide, and the board's action from December 9th. In reviewing how this process works, which, let me boil it down, if you want to consolidate as a community, you need to come up with a consolidation plan that the legislature needs to adopt by special act, and then the community needs to approve it by referendum. So it's a 2-step process. But it's a lot of work in developing the consolidation plan itself. How will we deal with different employees? How are we going to eliminate employees? How are we going to even out salaries? How are we going to deal with any contractual issues, union issues, retirement benefits? All those things are contemplated in a consolidation plan. What debt does the city have? What debt does the county have? What does the final governing structure look like? Is it 5 commissioners, 10 commissioners, 15 commissioners? All of those things would be developed in a consolidation plan. Taking all that into consideration, on December 9th, the board wanted to take a temperature check. They want to do a straw ballot at the November 26th general election ballot. They want to see where the community is on this. And they directed staff to bring back draft language for their consideration to place on the general election ballot. We've provided that information again in your materials, but based on the board having weighed in on this issue, we're not recommending any action by the committee today, but of course, happy to hear your feedback. I'll hand it back to the chair, and we're available to answer any questions that you might have.
All right, well, thank you. Yeah, questions coming up? Vice Chair Haynes.
Madam Chair, I move option 1.
Motion's been made to move option 1, which is to take no further action, accept the report and take no further action at this time.
Second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to accept the report and take no further action. All those,
What does that mean for questions or discussion?
if you have questions at this time, absolutely, or discussion? Sure.
Yeah, I've not read what you sort of generalized here. Let me just ask a direct question. In your evaluation, were there any areas that you were able to determine that would lead to savings for members of the community?
This was more the process item. Here's how it works. Here's potential pros and cons in different communities that they've experienced. The item talks about a lot of the functional consolidation that we already have. The planning department, we have some IT departments that are functionally consolidated, work together on human services. But we didn't do a deep dive on, is there a potential opportunity for savings in the park department? Because we would need that information as part of the consolidation plan. That's where you would do that deep dive. Generally speaking, in concept, you tend to assume there's going to be a big savings, but really the only opportunity for savings is if you're eliminating staff, eliminating assets,
Or duplication of services, perhaps. I don't know the answer to that.
Right. And so I'll give you an example. The city has a parks department, the county has a parks department. If you consolidate, do you close parks? Because you need that staff to maintain parks, facilitate the programs. If you consolidate, do you need less law enforcement officers on patrol? You don't get rid of the county jail, that still stays. So the cost savings sort of isn't what you think. And there's also the expense of the initial cost to equalize salaries, deal with debts, address any retirement benefit differences. So again, without going into the consolidation plan and having all of that information, it's hard to identify any specific savings at this time. It's more of a process-oriented item.
Okay. I'm not going to debate anything, so let me try to put everything in the form of a question here. Has the county commission decided that it is important to know whether or not there's opportunities for savings, particularly as it relates to just the affordability issues that citizens are dealing with? Has the county commission determined that it would be important to know that in drafting language for a ballot initiative?
Ballot initiative because it's a straw ballot. The determination on any expenses or cost savings would be determined in the development of the consolidation plan, which again would have to get approved ultimately by the legislature and the voters. So the straw ballot, non-binding, is really a temperature check. Is it something you think the city and county or the county should pursue?
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. Mr. Wilcox?
Ken, I think you just touched on, but would you walk us through the process if the straw ballot came back, let's say 60-40, 70-30 in favor of consolidation? What would it look like after that?
So if that were to occur in November of 26, you've got the legislative session right around the corner. The county commission would have to determine, is this something we want to go hand in hand with the city? And the city would have to play with us, or the county can go about it on its own and start contacting the legislative delegation. But the plan would have to be in place before it goes to the legislature. So it would take some time. You could force the city's hand, in theory, if the legislative delegation got involved and said they wanted to establish a consolidation effort. That happened in Escambia and Pensacola about 15 years ago. It was the legislature leading on that and requiring the city and county to meet and develop a consolidation plan. In this case, you got the county commission initiating that conversation. So it would still be a couple years out before the plan was ready to go back to the voters.
Mr. Ray?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, with all the community needs that we're hearing about here as a community, governance generally being in crisis in America right now, I think we need all hands on deck. I think limiting our own capacity, I don't think is wise. I think it's very clear that the people of Tallahassee and Leon County don't like the legislature. We don't trust their judgment. We don't want to invite them into our own local governance. And so for a number of reasons, one, I think it would be irresponsible and putting the cart before the horse before we get this temperature check to work too further on this. But yeah, I think it's a bad idea, consolidation generally, but I think right now it's an especially bad and beyond practice from a policy standpoint. Thank you.
Thank you.
We didn't all say that, right? That's right. I didn't say anything about
That
legislation.
was my view.
Just want to make sure that
Yeah.
I think well-founded.
we don't say the charter review.
Yeah.
We didn't say that.
No, that's
That was Ryan Ray.
Just
so.
the Leon County voters have it.
I mean, people
His opinion.
may agree. I'm just want to make sure we
Yes, sir.
get that.
Wisecracks always welcome. Thank you very much.
Madam Chair, just going back to Barry's question, again, the county commission on December 9th, they had all of the options available to them. They could have started the process toward developing the consolidation plan, but they said, no, let's do the straw ballot. Let's take the temperature of the community and see where that leads.
Yeah. So we acted on this and then the county commission did. So, what are you going to say? Commissioner Lewis?
Was there a budget allocated by the commission to educate, quote unquote?
No,
the
sir.
public about it? Will there be, to your knowledge?
So I'm going to be careful. I got the county attorney over me. So again, that language will come back to the board in the spring. We also have to be very careful when it comes to educating on any ballot initiatives. There's a fine line between advocating and educating. We cannot advocate. So I know county attorneys.
Do you want me to just talk or?
Just, we can hear you pretty well.
I was just trying to understand where the county commission is at with this. So they took a vote the other evening, the 5-2, and it's to have something come back before them, right?
The draft language will come back in the spring to place on the ballot.
And will there be, will it come back as a public hearing, or will there be an item and then a public hearing if there's?
The initial agenda item to come back will not be a public hearing. I'm looking at the county attorney if we need a public hearing before we send it to the supervisor of elections.
On August 16th, the board will have its public hearing for ballot initiatives, potential ballot initiatives for consideration. The Board of County Commissioners in August of next year. And that will include any potential proposals offered by you all as well.
But it doesn't necessarily, they don't have to do it on the August 16th. They could do it any time between now and then for their own ballot amendments, right?
Yes, as long as it's before the, is it the filing date with the supervisor of elections? So anytime before August.
And how many votes on the county commission does it take to put a ballot on the ballot amendment?
If it is a board-initiated amendment, it is
Well, this is not an amendment. This would just be a straw ballot. It's a simple majority.
Just a simple majority for the county commission. So the same voting threshold that this body needs. Okay. So there's going to be at least 2 more times the county commission will need 5 votes, or 4 votes, you're saying? Okay. All right, thank you.
Mr. Wilcox, you had another question?
And another one for Ken. Ken, we talk about functional consolidation in there, which may be the kind of middle ground in all this. And I know we already have great examples of functionally consolidated departments. I work in one. And so I recognize the benefits to that, a few pitfalls here and there, but for the most part, overwhelming benefits to that. Have we looked at functional consolidation of any of our other departments between the city and the county? You know, areas where we definitely are, I don't want to go so far as say duplicating efforts, but coming pretty darn close to doing so.
Not as part of this exercise in the last month. You know, over the last 5 to 10 years, probably the biggest merger consolidation has been associated with the sales tax, the creation of a joint Office of Economic Development, joint Office of Minority Women and Small Businesses. That's probably the most recent example. We've had some services, which you're familiar with, we find their benefit to be co-located. Both the city and county growth management departments are in the same place. So if you're still doing permits the old-fashioned way and you need to go into the office, you can get to the city or county. Internally explored different sections of IT departments with constitutional offices at times because we mutually thought, hey, there could be an opportunity here for savings and efficiencies. But sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't make sense.
So there can be a process for some consolidation with some savings to the general public that doesn't involve
Absolutely.
all of what we're seeing here.
And it would be formalized, it'd be done by, executed by an interlocal agreement, like the planning department is, like our geographic information systems is.
Excellent. Thank you.
Action. Oh, we're good. We're good again. Okay, thanks. All those in favor of option one, say so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Thank you very much. Okay. Thanks, Ken. You have agenda item coming up. Are you handling item 2?
Mr. Lammy.
Oh, Washington, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, members. So for this item and the next couple of items, you'll see a common theme. And that is the county has been very active responding to the human service needs in our community. Most important for this group is that the policies, the partnerships, the programs, and the investments that I'll touch on did not require a charter amendment to address those needs. I see there's something being passed out. Okay. Okay. Can we hold staff on that, on distributing these things until, yeah, thank you. So as I mentioned, the County Commission has had all the authority already to meet those needs. So let's start with food security. As you all may recall, members, you requested this item to consider inclusion of food security in the county charter. Dr. Strobel distributed a document with 3 options, which the committee requested staff to analyze, along with information on the county's current and ongoing efforts to address food insecurity. As presented in the item in your packet, the county has a long history in addressing food insecurity in the community. Through intentional community engagement, innovative programs, long-term community partnerships, and significant investments, we're responding to the community needs every day. In the past 5 years, we've invested $7.5 million to deliver nearly 55 million meals in the community. In the item, we talk about how food insecurity is addressed primarily through a variety of programs funded and administered by federal and state programs like SNAP and WIC. But beyond those programs and services, we're doing more with our local partners like Second Harvest, Elder Care Services, and Good News Outreach to augment the state and federal programs in a collective effort to reduce food insecurity in our community. That includes providing annual funding, engaging residents and neighborhoods with the highest food insecurity rates, and enhancing partnerships every day. We have the boots on the ground and the hands on the pulse to address food insecurity and the ever-changing needs in our community in the item, including the root causes, like homelessness, like housing, like healthcare, like transportation. All of those are detailed in the item, members. Subsequently, we provide an analysis of the three options in Dr. Strobel's handout with some key points to keep in mind. First, there are no other county charters in Florida that include the specific issue of food insecurity in their charters. As I mentioned earlier, food security is primarily the responsibility of federal and state governments. However, that has not prevented our community, our county, in responding to the needs. Second, we have a dedicated department with dedicated staff a dedicated staff that was recently created as early as 2022 by the board that are specifically addressing the needs of food insecurity daily through implementing policies, programs, and partnerships. They are actively connecting residents to essential and available resources critical to reducing food insecurity, but also improving economic prosperity, because through that, we're taking a holistic approach when addressing food insecurity. And so then that brings me to my third and final point. The board currently has all the authority necessary to address food insecurity. They've adopted policies, created programs, and continue to make significant investments in the area of food insecurity without any changes to the charter. Therefore, rather than a charter amendment, the committee could alternatively make a recommendation encouraging the board to continue the county's long-standing commitment to reducing food insecurity in the community. That's option number 2 in your item. But however, what would happen is that recommendation would be part of your final report that would come before the county commission. However, we also provide the option should the committee wish to move forward with a proposed charter, which is on option number 3. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Daryl Jones, I think you were first up.
What you have described here, and I too agree that this has been a priority of our county. We are truly our brother's keeper in so many ways, and particularly under the offices that you have managed here now for more than a decade. But I'm oft quoted because I say at school board meetings, at Children's Services Council meetings, even at the Bethlehem Church, if you want to know someone's values, you look at their checkbook. Here now, we are, although others may not do it, we have opportunity to set forth, particularly with these 3 recommendations as a part of our charter, we are espousing what we see as community values. Political winds change. Different people are elected. Priorities change. But here now, as a part of the charter, we then have opportunity to pass a vote of our own from our entire community to say that these 3 principal things matter to us. We want our people fed, we want them housed, and we want them healthy. And to be able to quantify that as a charter, then that makes it immune to elections, it makes it immune to political changes. It's then made a priority as set forth by our voters who've had opportunity to weigh in and say that they agree with that. So I understand that others may not, but the beauty of this exercise, it gives us an opportunity to set forth our values. And then so when these changes do occur, here this stands sacrosanct, uncompromised, and unmovable. So I like the opportunity to discuss this further.
Thank you very much. Ms. Edwards?
Thank you, and thank you for the information. It was wonderful information to receive, but I think what I struggle with is the gap between the information you provided and the information from the public speakers. You know, if so much is being done, and I want to just kind of go back to what Dr. Lewis said, perhaps the structure needs some work or something, because it doesn't sound like to me, perhaps, and maybe I missed something, that we are really hitting the nail on the head when it comes to food insecurity. It seems like the programs are there, the money is there, but somehow or the other, there are still people who are food insecure. And so I like, again, I agree with Mr. Jones, that if there is some kind of structure that allows those who are doing things to meet those who need something, that's kind of where I see the issue. There's a gap somewhere.
Okay.
Thank you. I believe Barry Wilcox was up next.
My question is, Shigan, I appreciate comments by Member Jones, because that clarified some of, what may be the difference between what we're doing now and what we would be doing under a charter amendment. But budget-wise, we're having been through a decade of budget workshops at the county, and understanding that with the state legislature having control of a significant portion of the county's budget, we're literally sleeping under a sword every year. This year, we're looking at possible rollbacks, very real rollbacks of property taxes, which would have a significant impact on general revenues, which is the primary funding source for the county. If we have a mandate via charter amendment, how is that handled if the funding just simply does not exist for something like that?
Well, I want to share the fact that what the board has the authority to do now exists. Like, as you mentioned, the structure was established by the board with a department. We have a department that exists in which we provide the resources and work with our local partners to address food insecurity. But just touching briefly on what Barry mentioned, those will be tough decisions that have to be made. And we will have to evaluate what are those programs and what are those resources, and how do we maximize our resources in order so we can address the needs in our community that changes all the time. Our human service community needs change multiple times, and even since I've been in my position. As Dr. Robinson knows, we've dealt with infant mortality, we've dealt with opioid. Issues change often here in our community. Homelessness has been a big challenge here in our community. But at the end of the day, though, when those issues come up and those challenges come up regarding the funding, we would have to bring recommendations to our board, and there'd have to be tough decisions made to address some of the needs. Now, when it comes to the issue regarding the structure that Ms. Edwards asked about, and also I know some of the speakers spoke to, there was a lot of conversations about as if the county taking the lead as the person that would provide the structure that the school board, the city, and other state entities would participate in. We cannot require them to do that. I want you to understand, Member Jones, we can't make Leon County Schools participate in a structure. That you can't do that with a charter amendment. That does not occur. And the county attorney, you can maybe want to chime in on that one, but that does not happen with this charter amendment. What the charter amendment would basically doing is duplicate the authority that we already have. We, the county, already have the authority to specifically work with our partners through ordinances, through the many funding opportunities that we provide to address the issues of food insecurity, but more than just food insecurity, the issue specifically of the root causes. Issues like homelessness, issues like housing, issues like transportation. We've put a significant amount of dollars in transportation because when we went into those neighborhoods with the highest food insecurity rates, we learned that those were some of the largest gaps. And so with the dedicated department that we have, with the dedicated staff we have, we've been able to address those needs.
Yeah, county attorney.
the reference to me that Ching just made, I would just direct the committee members' attentions to Article 9, Section 4, B of the Florida Constitution, which says in part, the school board shall operate, control, and supervise all free public schools within the school district and determine the rate of school district taxes, et cetera. We do not have jurisdiction as the county to direct or dictate or control or supervise school districts at all. And in terms of charter schools, those are addressed by state law. So again, to the extent that there were requests that, or thoughts or suggestions that we compel school boards to do, the school board to do something, this does not do that. I just wanted to clarify that for the committee members.
Certainly doesn't. Just thought I'd throw that in.
This
I just thought I'd throw that in.
This also has come up in the past when we had the mandatory mask requirement during COVID. We had to exclude the schools because there was no jurisdiction to require any sort of activity on school board property, which is why that exclusion was in the ordinances that were passed by the county at that time. So this is just a different flavor of that.
Done so.
So the other thing about funding, I did in advance of this meeting go ahead and take a look at the provisions in other county charters related to mandating funding of some sort. Some county charters do that. Only one, Duval County's, mandates funding of a specific amount for a certain type of litigation fund. And that amount is fairly de minimis for Duval County. It's $250,000. Others set up trust funds for different types of things. Some require that Board of County Commissions or councils fund certain offices like ethics offices. One funds has a requirement to fund an inspector general office, but they do not proscribe specific amounts. And there is ultimate discretion on the part of the Board of County Commissioners or council to determine what amount that funding is in any fiscal year. There is also some case law, nothing directly on point for this type of thing, if you're going to be proscriptive, but there have been proposed charter amendments in other jurisdictions that have proposed to cap the amount of revenue that a county can generate, and those have been determined to be preempted by chapters 200 and chapter 129 of the Florida statutes relating to a Board of County Commissioners' obligation and ability to adopt an annual budget. So there is no case law directly on point to the extent anything goes on the charter ballot that proscribes a set requirement for funding. I just wanted to lay that out as you're considering these agenda items today.
Thank you, Counselor. Dr. Struble,
Yes, thank you.
we'll get to everybody.
So, when there is a handout that I prepared, that I shared with staff and they were going to pass it out. So I would like, if that's appropriate to pass out now, Madam Chair.
Is this the same one that we got
No,
online?
it's
It's
been
a separate one?
To reflect the analysis provided by staff
Thank you.
on the agenda.
Thank you.
And before I get to that, I want to deal with just a couple of things presented in the staff analysis that led to more questions on my part, or more so more ideas that came up as we reviewed this. And I'm glad we're having this discussion. Again, I heard that we already have HSCP doing this work, and I want to applaud the department for the great work that they've done. But what we're speaking to here is not solely just this idea of food security. I don't want everyone to be trapped in that word. We're talking about our food insecurity, I should say. We're talking about the food system. And the food system includes several components that we need a structure to manage. With everything going on in the country, we could see shutdowns, we could see tariffs, anything that could raise food prices or make food insecurity worsen. We need a center location or a central command that almost is monitoring and reviewing that scenario. We saw what happened with the pandemic years ago, and we had this office in place at that time, but during the pandemic, we saw our food insecurity spike, particularly in our African-American communities, with our elders, with single mothers, and our most vulnerable citizens in our county. So I'm suggesting that we put a Office of Food Systems in place that is responsible for monitoring those efforts. I think I heard it mentioned that food access and resilience is a state or federal responsibility. While that may be true, we have to be honest about the state and federal situation. They are either unwilling or unable to make sure that we as Leon County are going to have food system security. It just doesn't seem to be of interest for the federal administration, and we can't be dependent on that because we know that changes every 4 years. So I'm suggesting in our charter, we make a allowance or a mandate that this is something that we are managing as a community. In addition, the board already has the authority and is acting through policy, programs, and budgets. This is true, but authority without a required structure will yield uneven results and uneven delivery. The charter can require a countywide plan and annual public reporting. This is a method of staying on top of it so that when we talk about this at future charter review meetings, the speakers will come in and say, actually, food security, food systems maintenance is running in the direction that we believe it should go in. So these are the things I want us all to think about as we discuss this. With the document I put before you, it just gives a summary of what's at stake here. Federal and state nutrition supports are unstable and not always reliable. Therefore, I'm advocating that we move towards localized food control here in Tallahassee. A food system is all the people, activities, and infrastructure and institutions, and we need to be taking a look and monitoring all those as a county. And I'm requesting that the charter direction goes, establishes the county duty, establishes an Office of Food Systems, a countywide food systems plan and annual public report will be mandated, and then also countywide minimum standards and guardrails to make sure that it is legally sound and that it does not conflict with any preemption or anything that the state government has in place. I have a couple more items I want to share. New York City has a city charter that creates an Office of Food Policy and an Office of Urban Agriculture. In Philadelphia, voters amended their home rule charter in 2014 to make an Office of Sustainability. So this has shown that there may not be precedent for this in Florida, but other locations have taken this action. So we would not be acting alone, but we would be leading in Florida because no one has made this step yet. But with the climate crisis looming, with unstable federal government decisions being made, this is of the utmost importance that we take this step. So I do have a suggested motion. It directs staff to bring back draft charter language, establishing a county duty for food access and food system resilience, creating an Office of Food Systems under the county administrator or a designee within the executive branch, requiring a countywide plan with annual reporting, and authorizing a countywide minimum standard, and that will be implemented by ordinance and under the purview of the Board of County Commissioners. That is my motion.
Just as a procedure, are you making that motion at this point, or do you want to wait and hear from the others? You're making the motion.
The motion.
We restate the motion. Sorry, Bruce.
No problem. We are directing staff. The motion is to direct staff to bring back draft charter language establishing a county duty for food access and food systems resilience, creating an Office of Food County Administrator or a designee within the executive branch, requiring a countywide plan with annual reporting, and authorizing countywide minimum standards that will be implemented by ordinance within 12 months, consistent with state law and subject to annual appropriation.
So moved.
I'm sorry, he already he made a motion. Are you seconding the motion? Seconding the motion. At this point, we had several other people who had their cards up to speak in a more general way, and you may wish to speak to the motion as well. I'd kind of like to proceed with that and have people's
No, is there
comments.
time for questions on the motion?
Well, no, it will be
You're gonna wait.
time for questions and conversation on the motion or anything else that you wish to discuss regarding this item.
Okay, I just had
Okay.
a question on the motion at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. And I do have a list of people whose cards have been up for a bit, so I'd like to proceed. I had Howard Kessler, and then I had Dr. Roberson, Ms. Tuggerson, Daryl Jones again, I'm not sure you're there, and then Sean.
Madam Chair, I just have a question on the order, on whether or not right now is actually answering the question already.
We're
So I
we're
just need to
not, the
understand.
motion has been made and seconded to take this to request a charter amendment. But cards have been up to discuss our overall option, our discussion of this number two, item two.
Yes, ma'am.
Food insecurity in general. And So the people have their cards up. I'd like to hear from them. It may be on this motion, it may be on other aspects
My
regarding.
confusion is on the procedure. And I just want to make sure that, is this choosing one of the options of the agenda item?
This is one of the options.
But it's answering it differently, right?
I think he's, option 3 is what you're going for.
It's option 3.
It's
I
option-
just wanted to make sure because it sounded like it was
Right.
close.
The only motion we have on the table now is for option 3
Great. That's what I need. Thank
of
you.
addenda item 2.
Right.
And that's what, anyone can speak to that, or you can speak to other aspects
Thank
of this as well. And so next up, I had Howard Kessler. Dr. Kessler.
Enjoy that. Thank you. Thank the staff for the information brought forward. You ruined one of my days at least with the volume, but it opened up a lot of questions, and thank you for that. I also want to thank the citizens here. Amazing number of turnout, so greatly appreciated that your participation in observing your government. So I have several questions, and one is, are we, in your opinion, succeeding or failing in this area of food insecurity?
We're working hard on that issue every single day. And that's the point that, of what we're making as far as addressing the need here in our community through the investments that we're making annually, through the meetings. We meet monthly with neighbors in the neighborhoods that are food insecure. Their greatest needs in the area is not just food. It's jobs, it's healthcare, it's so many other things that what we're doing now, we're constantly enhancing our programs and our events so we can address those needs. Right after this meeting, we have another meeting specifically with a food policy group, because this is what we do every day in addressing the needs here in our community and figuring out how do we do that in a more perfect approach, and making sure that we utilize data and making sure we are meeting with the community. So then what we then do is turn around, is bring back recommendations to our board and how we address those needs. And, the point I'm making for the most part is the fact that we do have all that authority, and we've been able to do that for years, and it's worked to address those needs here in our community.
Thank you. And so you're meeting with people of the communities that you anticipate there are the greatest needs, and it's a comprehensive approach. And is there a way that you can actually measure the degree of problems, insecurity, food insecurity? Do you have a metric that you measure this, or is this just the feeling of interviews with people?
We do have outcome measures that we have in place for most of our all of our human service partners that we have through our CHSP program that we provide with the city, and to be able to measure how our programs are moving needles for the clients that they serve with the funding that we provide as well as the city provides.
Okay, and a couple more. I don't want to monopolize this. Why is it important for you to bring to the attention that no other counties have that in their charter? Is there something that putting in the charter you look at as being detrimental?
Well, the point we're making is the fact that charters don't deal with policy issues. This is the policy issue. They deal primarily on more structural, organizational things regarding the authority, the powers of government. I mean, those are some things that you've talked about regarding consolidation, be it about, our relationship with the city as far as maybe minimum standards when it comes to development and things like that. Those are the typical things that a charter addresses. Policy issues like these are ever changing. As I've shared before, they're ever changing, where today it's food insecurity, tomorrow it's healthcare, or it's housing, or it's transportation. I mean, these are issues that are ever changing. Homelessness is a critical issue, but within homelessness, there's layers. There's layers of issues of mental health. There's issues regarding domestic issues. I mean, there's so many things that we're able to work through the department that we have now that exists, also in the area of food and security. When you work in this space of food and security like Abby and I do, you learn a lot about what's causing some of these issues, and it's greater than just access to food. The access to food also includes the issue of access to transportation. It's also knowing what are the resources that are available. When we had those meetings in those neighborhoods, 9 dinner meetings, we learned so much about the fact that they did not know, oh, there's a food pantry at the school next door to my apartment complex. Oh, I did not know that there's a program that exists to assist me with my rent. These things exist, but it takes a lot of work that we've done in engaging these neighborhoods and working with them, because then when you do that, you're addressing some of those root causes and being able to address those needs in the community in the area of food and security and the other issues that we constantly address.
Joe, thank you for all of that. Appreciate it. So my biggest concern from what I've listened to here is the situation that was pointed out about, well, the Leon County government can't direct the school board to do squat. And given that, it seems like we have 2 entities addressing at least part of this problem, maybe in similar ways, maybe not. But for me, this presents the opportunity for there to be significant cracks in the coverage and diminishes success. And it seems to me that possibly, although I understand the administration's hesitancy with the charter, but I think that the charter structure may be able to offer, if not a closing of those cracks, maybe ideally eliminating those cracks. And so that's where I'm going as far as, can the charter better address this?
So there's a lot of conversation about a countywide plan. The countywide plan would be Leon County's plan. It's not, we can't mandate the city, we can't mandate the school board, we definitely can't mandate the state to participate in that plan. And those partners are critical. Everything we do right now is in partnership with them, is with the city. When we're about to, we have been very closely working with Florida A&M University specifically, and Dr. Strobel knows this because they're actually taking the lead right now with what he's bringing up. And we've been participating. We've been part of that conversation where they're looking to establish a food council. And we're at the table, the city's at the table, TMH is at the table. That's the appropriate platform. That makes sense that they are an entity and they bring a level of subject matter expertise that is critical, that we're participating and we're bringing what we're providing as far as resources here in our community and making that case. But a countywide plan through our charter can't make our partners then participate in the plan. I just want to make sure that we're clear there. I'm not entirely sure about the county minimum wide standards, exactly how that works, because again, the charter, at least from my thoughts, can't effectuate that specific requirement, again, to our partners that goes beyond not just the city, goes back to the school board and some of our private partners. But I think what we have right now and what we were stressing is the fact that what we can do, we have been doing it with the authority that we have that's available to us statutorily.
Thank you, Mr. Leamy. Okay, we have quite a few people. I think in the order of appearance, I've got you, Joey Davis. No comment?
Sure. So specifically related to, as it pertains to the motion currently on the floor. Will that also bring back cost estimates for such a implementation?
Ken, do you want to?
No, what you would get back is draft ballot language. The scope of the duties and responsibilities would still need to be ironed out. Shington just mentioned the countywide minimum standards. I'm not clear how that would work, what standards we would set in place for the city if we could.
It's a very broad,
Yeah.
very broad.
Okay.
For ballot language.
All right, so second, a lot of what I'm hearing from our speakers on this issue is, and thanks for the questions from Commissioner Kessler, it has to do with whether or not there's an overarching plan and how that's being, how we have an idea of whether or not what we're doing is working. Right? So when the committee member asked you, are we succeeding in dealing with food insecurity? At that point, all you could offer was we were working very hard. And I understand the difficulty in giving those numbers. But if we don't have someone who's specifically responsible to come back and give reporting, I'm all about allowing the commissioners to do what they have the power to do currently. And I think we need to understand that each of us were put on this committee by commissioners, right? But to the extent that we can't answer those questions, that leaves it up to people from the community not having a resolution to their issue. So whether that comes from the commissioners developing some form of structure where there is an overarching plan and someone who is specifically responsible to the county administrator to come back and regularly report on that, or some form of charter language, something obviously needs to happen. I'm not necessarily in favor or against the current motion, but it makes it difficult not to move forward with that if we don't have some form of structure there.
Well, I'll just, I'm sorry, Madam Chair. Nothing is stopping the committee from providing a policy recommendation. Again, that's the idea. If there's a policy recommendation to be made by this committee, they can do that. That doesn't elevate to the level of a charter. That's an option that they can have. And that's something it's consistent with what's happened to other charters too, where there's policy issues that has been deliberated, discussed by previous charter committees, and after following several conversations, they've determined, yes, this issue is important, it's critical, it's something that the county should be looking into, but it doesn't raise to the level of a charter amendment.
Okay, thank you. Again, I have been trying to keep track of everybody putting their cards up in order. If I fail, you can throw Rotten Tomatoes at me, and I'm sorry. But Dr. Robertson, I think you were up next.
Thank you. So just a couple of things. So on an office like this, I think we would need to understand the fiscal impact and the result that an office would have, because in my previous capacity, I oversaw the statewide office for the Women, Infant, and Children Program, which is a $200 million plus program for food for individuals under the age of 5, pregnant women, et cetera, as well as the state's child care food program, which is another USDA program, over $200 million to the state, which is an entitlement program, which keeps going even in a shutdown. So with that being said, federal regulations govern those programs. So when you talk about the other adjacent programs, like at the Florida Department of Ag, which is the school lunch program, there are very specific federal regulations, and I fail to understand here how a charter amendment would then bring, like farmers to schools, et cetera, or to daycares, because those federal regulations govern what types of foods, what can go on a menu. It's very tight. Now, in terms of a office and an example that I have statewide, so when you have, we can do this at a community level, you have a community health assessment where you go through all of the different data points, you come up with a community health improvement plan with the hospital, with federally qualified healthcare centers, with other partners and entities in a community that govern different types of health, but with the understanding that some of these people you don't have jurisdiction under. So in this situation, I think it's important for us to understand like the different pockets of services, programs, and money that govern food insecurities and that help to address those things. And then, I would recommend a policy recommendation to bring those partners to the table to do an assessment on where we are with partners with multiple authorities to be able to do something about these food programs, and then come up with that county-wide plan so that's measurable and action and ways to address that with a committee, because otherwise I struggle on how you're going to fund this. And even if you fund this, how are you going to have the authority to do something about some of these different parts of this?
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Struble, we have a lot of people. I know you have answers to everybody. I'm sorry, but I respectfully would like to hear from everyone here in the, already in the queue. Next is Ms. Tyrgerson.
I'm going to pass.
I beg your pardon?
I'm going to pass. You can circle back around to me. Well, since I'm talking already.
You got it, lady.
Hi, everybody. I echo what you're saying, and I'm hearing a lot, but I want to go back all the way with Mr. Shinkton and Lamey, and a lot of the things that the county is doing already, the Capital City Chamber has been a part of, that we started right along with Big Bend Minority Chamber during COVID, making sure those resources was there, even all the way down to the small business. So a lot of the fine tuning and the structure has been built out primarily in the last 45 years. Can it be strengthened? Yes, it can be strengthened, and we're listening for that. But the everyday work, we had a meeting this morning before we even came over here in this office. Did we not have? So those conversations are going on, and we're also utilizing not just the funding here in our county, but we're utilizing how we can get grants into the community in order to fill those gaps and make sure that we're meeting the needs. So I'm going to speak for myself. We saw it as a need as a minority chamber to step up in philanthropic ways than with other resources, and we can do what we need to do. So with that being said, the county right now has afforded us the opportunity to partner with them and get more grants into the community that has filled some of those gaps. So we work with Sheepton office. We normally have a meeting at least once a month. It's got down to once a month versus every 2 weeks regarding those situations.
Okay, thank you. Jarrett Terry, your turn, please.
Yes, I'm certainly leaning to number 3, but I'll tell you that I'm a little concerned that we are discussing number 3 and not actually answering which option we're going to choose to move forward. So that's why I'm having a little bit of problem understanding where we're at in the procedure. I see that we have a couple options here to choose from, and that there has been.
At this time, the motion on the floor is for option 3. Substitute motions can be made.
Yeah.
We can proceed. So that's really where we are.
I understand
Nothing
that.
has been.
What I'm confused about is that we're talking about alternatives to number 3 already as it relates to policy. And I think we probably, as a unit, should decide whether or not we're going to go to number 3 or number 2 or number 4 or number 1. And if we do hit 3, continue to talk about what can happen and what can't happen. Because my understanding is that if number 3, as an example, we would be directing the staff to draft a proposed charter that is determined by us, we are now trying to determine what can go in and what can't go in. That seems to be cart before the horse for me. So I'm asking whether or not we're actually following the right path to answering
I hear you.
item 2.
I would just like to say one thing. Just out of respect for having this conversation on item 2, not option 3, but item 2 in general. There are a lot of people who have views. I hear what you're saying. We could eliminate all conversation other than on the motion on the floor, if that's what this committee wishes. But as chair, I feel like it is actually more fair to hear everybody's views on the overall option 2. but
Okay.
is there a procedure that I'm missing here on this?
No, and also the conversation that's going on could guide members to decide whether or not they want to support option number 3. So it's,
That's why I'm trying to keep it wide open, that we
Okay,
can
so
talk
then-
about, as long as we're on item 2 and we're not talking about other topics. This is the heart of what we're doing here today, is agenda item 2. So right now, we have a motion on the floor for a charter amendment language, which will come back to us at another time. But there are other options here.
Great. Okay, so then my second question, I accept that. Thank you very much. The second question then is for you, Mr. Lamy. I'm wondering if there were charter language, and this has been asked, I think, in a couple different ways. How does it hinder you from making the success that you are already making or improving upon that if there were charter language? And the reason I ask that is because you say that what we could also do is recommend policy. I don't think that having the charter language stops us from recommending policy later if we get into understanding where we're limited on the charter language. So I'm asking, how does charter language hinder you from continuing to do what you've been doing well for the county?
It's duplicative. It's duplicative of the work that we're already doing, but also it doesn't take into consideration.
The fact that it's duplicative, I want to, can you give examples of how it's duplicative, having the language versus your actions?
If the county becomes the sole entity responsible for food insecurity, what's the city role within the city limits? Again, human services typically don't have jurisdictional issues. Is the county employing staff, building food pantries, duplicating a lot of things that are today are provided through the nonprofit sector, Second Harvest, for example?
Yeah, I'm on that board. So I'm asking, I don't want to interrupt you, but I want to stay with what it is that I'm saying. Previously, in the beginning, we talked about this being a focus on the sentiment of the county, meaning that this was language as sentiment. I think it was Commissioner Jones that kind of brought it to this direction, was that for eternity, there would be an emphasis on this topic for the county beyond changes of policy and or leadership, and that was the point of having it as charter language. So not necessarily putting in that there was a responsibility, but a sentiment that you would continue to do that is something that I'm saying I'm worried about in terms of what we're discussing.
The issue.
Just a moment. Let me finish this. I'm a pretty quiet person.
Yeah.
Not outside, but in here. I just want to say that what I understood this to be initially before what I think we started doing was discussing what it would be, is that we wanted to have language in place that pushed a sentiment that this was important to the county. That was the language. It wasn't putting in responsibility, which I do think is through policy. That's what happens. I thought it was just the sentiment. And I would just want clarification on the distinction within this discussion.
I think you're referring to some of the conversations about the Bill of Rights and
After that, but
some
yeah.
value statements.
Right.
The materials before you today are in response to a handout that was provided as part of the committee discussion requesting this item. So it considered the establishment of an office and some other responsibilities, I think 3 options that were laid out. So it was more structural and programmatic, if you will.
and that's the motion on the floor.
But I'm looking again at the options that are in item, right? So that the motion on the floor, this is why I asked the question before. I apologize for the clarity, but it seemed like the motion was duplicative to option 3 with a minor adjustment and change, which made it different. That was one thing. But the second thing is, I just want to know, are we going to address options? And I understand, I've accepted that. Options 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if so, that pertains to what I think was prior to this, not after this. So that's all I want to just make sure that we're doing that rather than actually more or less discussing what would be in the charter.
But be sure to understand that the motion on the floor is very specific about what would be in the charter. It says we would create an Office of Food Systems. It's very specific. It's not a sentiment. It's really clear.
Yes, but
And that's what we have to
that
vote
motion
on at
is
this
different
moment.
than the action. The option that we have to have is not a motion. That's why I was asking about the order, right?
No, the option option 3, he made the motion. That's an
No, no,
option.
no. He made a motion. We were given options for the review, and it corresponds with the option. His motion corresponds with the option. But we
Okay.
weren't asked to consider a motion when we were asked to consider this item.
Madam Chair, point of order. I think for clarity's sake, his motion really was option 4.
Yes, it was
instead of
different.
option
That's what I'm saying.
If that
It was
helps you out, I mean, I think his motion really is option 4, and that's committee direction.
Yes.
And
But
therefore, his.
that is not the option, that is not the motion he made. We can analyze that.
No, he didn't.
You made option 3.
No, he did not make option 3 as his motion. He made a personal motion, and his motion falls under option 4, which is committee direction.
And that's different than what
Will the
we were
maker of the
asked.
motion please clarify?
The motion, okay, so option 3 reads direct staff.
That's not what you said.
Yeah, right, that's not
I
what he
did not say
said.
option 3, that is correct.
Correct.
So it said proposed charter amendment on food insecurity as determined by the Citizens Charter Review Committee. And then here is I was offering language for that motion, so I don't see.
Office. Right.
Yeah.
And to bring back information, that was committee direction.
So,
Greater.
At the committee
That is
direction.
correct. That is correct.
Okay, well, wherever it fits. Okay, I don't know which one it fits in, but and I'm waiting to answer a lot of the questions I had on the motion, so let me know when
Gotcha.
it's my turn to speak.
okay, I'll do that. Okay. We have next, Sean Pittman, then Heidi Otway, then Linda Bond Edwards, then Max Hurley, and then Dr. Lewis. It's the order of appearance coming in next.
All right, thanks for the clarification. That was part of my question. And then
Yeah.
the other part of my question, I think Joey and Shamiro responded to it. And that was, what's the fiscal, is there a fiscal attached to the motion? Best guess, if it's creating the office, what does that mean? I think it's important to know what we're asking to be done. Because I don't think any of us will disagree that these issues are important. Some disagree where it belongs. That's another argument, probably. But the fiscal is something we got to have no matter what. So thank you, Joey. You and Shamiro sort of covered that, so I'm going to be quiet.
Okay, Ms. Otway.
Yeah, I just want to provide context because I think many of you all know that I've been running a food pantry in the community for over a decade, and I do appreciate what the county is doing. And Shington, you mentioned that the county is focused on neighborhoods that you've identified as main areas of food insecurity. But at my food pantry, I'm getting people from across the entire county of all socioeconomic status, because sometimes someone in that household who may have had a six-figure salary lost their job.
Yes.
And they're driving up in very nice cars that's almost on E, and they're humbling themselves because they have to feed their family. So the other group of people that I also see are grandparents who are raising multiple grandchildren, and they need support. So to provide additional insight as we're talking through this is, I don't know if you all know, but we had some SNAP benefits earlier this year were completely out of pocket, unavailable for a lot of people across the United States. And even though that it was brought back, coming this October of 2026, Florida will be responsible for the administrative cost of implementing SNAP. And if Florida doesn't come up with that $1 billion, we're going to see more food insecurity in this community. So we need to come up with some solution. I don't know if it's policy, I don't know if it's what's been presented, but we need to make this a priority because a storm is coming bigger than what we've seen just past year, and how disruptive the loss of SNAP benefits were to people across this country and our community. Thank you.
In terms of urgency, could I just ask a question of you all? If we should somehow go to decide we want just to recommend a policy to the Board of County Commissioners, does that go to them right away in terms of urgency, or does that have to go around through August and on? I mean, I hear what you're saying. What we're doing, even if it gets on the ballot, it's next November, it's a year away. I just didn't know if policy speaks more quickly
All
to the county?
all proposed charter amendments, as well as any policy recommendations, such as the one that you recommended at your last meeting, will be included in your final report that's going to be presented to the board at their March 2026 meeting.
So, okay, thank you. Next, we have Linda Bond Edwards, please.
Thank you. And this is to Mr. Lammy. When you were responding to Dr. Kessler's questions, you talked about a food council that was being developed, but I did not hear that the Leon County School Board was invited or was a part of that council. And I understand that this is all voluntary, it's not mandatory, you're not making them spend any money, but is the school district a part of that council as well?
Well, it's being led by FAMU, but that's something that we'll make sure we touch base with regarding the inclusion of Leon County schools. But there have been several partners in the room that are looking at and really having this conversation. When we talk about farmers, when we talk about the need for second harvest, I mean, we have quite a bit of stakeholders in the room participating in this process.
As well as folks like Heidi's Food Pantry, your private kind of food providers, are those folks also invited? And I guess what I think we're all looking for is something that is comprehensive, where the messaging is pretty strong to those people who really have a need. I mean, it was eye-opening to me when you talked about a citizen who lived next door to a food pantry at the school and didn't know it. So there's some messaging issues that need to take place as well as the measurements. And so I think that what I hear is just a comprehensive deep dive perhaps in what's being done and where those gaps are, to be sure. Because again, a lot is being done by a lot of people, but we still have people who think that there is an issue. So, and there is an issue. And I don't need to downplay it. There is an issue. So,
and what we're sharing is that those conversations are taking place. I think that's the most thing. I don't want the committee to take away that things aren't happening to address these gaps. They are all the time, every single day, in a meeting right after this meeting. So hopefully we get something to eat soon, but I don't know, because we got another meeting on food insecurity. We were talking about food insecurity, not just writing this agenda item, but as Ms. Tuggerson mentioned, before the meeting. And then we're going to talk about it again after the meeting. And we're going to make sure we have the right people in the room as part of these conversations, because it is a critical piece. But I want to go back to something Mr. Terry had asked about what the harm is. It's not a harm, but what you're running into right now is that we have, in our community, the needs are ever changing. Ever changing, because even Dr. Henry Lewis will know when we were talking about a lot about infant mortality several years ago, a lot. And that was the big issue. Dr. Robinson remembers these issues, because these are the things that was the big challenge, but the ever changing, and we invested and figure out how do we address those issues. Ever changing. The thing is, when you elevate this one into the charter, what happens when something else happens in our community? Remember, it was shortly after the end of our last charter committee that we had a pandemic. And then all of a sudden, the need of our community changed. We can't change a charter annually. What we get to do, and what the board currently has the authority to do, is quickly be able to address those changing needs here in our community.
Thank you, Shington. Dr. Lewis, you were up next, and then Barry Wilcox, and then right there, and you'll be winding up on your motion. We have just a half an hour of this meeting. We have two more topics. We're not going to get to them, I don't think, but we want to be very thorough on this, very thoughtful, and this has been a great conversation.
As I've listened to the discussion, certainly we have major issues here, and this is certainly one of them, and not to belittle it at all, because I grew up on a farm. I never had to miss a meal. I got off of I-10 a couple of Sundays ago and came from the west side, and there was a church that was giving out food. There was a line of cars from that church, which is on, got the name of the road, around, it had to be 140 or 50 cars lined up on a Sunday afternoon trying to get food.
Yeah.
My wife grew up in Havana, Florida, and her father was a preacher. He provided food for his parishioners every Sunday. The infrastructures that we had in place before are no longer here. I sit on the Tallahassee Housing Authority, and the shutdown in the government caused us to miss the payroll to all of our landlords this month. They have since restored the money, but we had to notify 2,000 landlords that they weren't going to get paid this month.
Thank you.
That's not something that I think we want to keep going on in our city, our county, and certainly not our country in that regard. But I think just like healthcare, it's a fundamental right. I think food should be a fundamental right for every person that here in this country. We sit next to 32304. 32304, the highest poverty zip code in the state of Florida. We have a responsibility, I think, on this committee to address those issues, whether it be charter or policy, but we have a responsibility to address it. My struggle as it relates to whether or not this should be a charter issue or a policy issue is how do we enforce it, and how do we bring people to the table to address it? We've got a critical fragmentation of delivery of services. Now, the question is, how do we address that fragmentation? And who is the entity or entities that should address that fragmentation? And we've got a proposal on the table to address that. Nobody else has come forth with a proposal to address this issue now talk about. And I hope that we can address it, if we can't address it through the charter. Certainly recommend that our county commission develop a structure and it be the lead for coordinating, not funding, coordinating the various entities in our community that provide food for our neighbors in that regard.
Thank you. I appreciate what Shinkton Lamy has said about that in terms of the structure that we do have as a county, not for all of the agencies in the community that we have no control over. The next person up is Barry Wilcox, and then Daryl Jones, and then Dr. Struble. You're right, wind it up. We have just about 25 minutes today, and we have 2 other agenda items, but I don't believe we're going to get to them. So let's try to hear every thought on this, and then we'll try to make some movement.
Well, I hope my comments will bring some clarity to it and not make it infinitely worse. But I feel like we've jumped ahead of ourselves a little bit here. The item was great in that it identifies what's being done to date. And, Abby and Shinkton, I mean, what you guys do with that department with limited resources and so much laid at your feet in terms of veteran affairs and health services and housing. And I mean, it's just all the issues that are the most difficult to solve. So I could see where an office or at least some additional help in the area of food insecurity could be beneficial to what you do, what you already do, but also maybe expand your ability to do that. But I feel like we've jumped ahead and we've got an item that says, here's what we do today. We've got a proposed charter amendment that says, here's what you should do. But I feel like I'm missing the information in between that says to me, to a few of the other members' points, what does that look like? Like where is that housed? How many staff do you think you would need to take care of that? What does the budget look like for something of that sort? And I hate to, again, knowing how much work goes into each one of these items, I hate to put another item in front of you, but I'm struggling with being able to say yes on the charter amendment at this point when I feel like there's still some information that I need to fill in that gap.
Thank you. Daryl Jones?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I was being glib about the school board because, as you know, I'm the only school board member whose entire district is Title I schools, which means I wrestle with childhood food insecurity on a daily basis at all of my sites, stretching from Fort Braden to James S. Rickards High School. What for me, why I think this is, I don't wrestle with the charter amendment. I am still unclear about the fullness of the amendment. What matters to me most is to answer Barry's question. Barry says, at the very beginning, he says, if we make this a charter amendment, how do we fund it? Well, if it's included in the charter, that means the monies that support food insecurity are held blameless no matter what our tax base looks like. That's what putting it in the charter means. I remember there was a time when environmental issues were the rage, and now we don't even recycle like we once did, right? But here now, if we were to include food insecurity as a part of our charter, that means staff is then thereby, and the commission, are expected to hold monies, priorities, policy blameless because it is now a community value as expressed in our charter. Now, Dr. Strobel has brought us something rather specific, and I think there's a difference between that which is charter language and that which may be a part of a strategic plan. For example, when they created my office, for the Office of Economic Vitality, when they the move was that we would consolidate. How it got consolidated was left for us to be directed beyond the initial decision. Then staff was then equipped. Because see, this is what I think the charter language does, and I want Chinkton to know I have the utmost respect for him. This is done not to weaponize, but to empower what you're already doing, such that it remains a continuing priority. And that's what I hope that will come out of this, that when we put it in the charter, that means its monies, the policies subsequently are all informed because it is now risen to a charter mandate that lasts eternally. And how we get to that can certainly be negotiated by staff along with community input. But now I would dare say if we get too specific, potentially, you run the risk of alienating the people that you're going to want to vote on it, because then it becomes potentially an unfunded mandate, right? You want to make certain that people understand it most clearly. That's just my 2 cents. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you. Vice Chair Haynes, your turn.
Madam Chair.
I think that
ahead of me.
I was going to give Dr. Strobel the opportunity to wind up at the end of the conversation, but if you'd like to go now, you are ahead.
So I can have that.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I have heard all the information provided by staff and the conversation, and I think we all agree that our county does a phenomenal job with the resources that we have in addressing some, if not all, of these issues that we have before us. But I too would tend to agree that this is more of a policy issue than something that should be addressed in the charter. And I would love to offer a substitute motion for option 2. Listening to me, I've heard some people a little uneasy about funding and just some other questions. On either we're going to table this issue until another meeting, or do option 2 and just draft this as a recommendation and have to the county commission to address it or whatever. So.
Are you making a substitute motion for option 2?
Chair, make a substitute motion for option 2.
Second.
Do I hear a second on option 2? Motion has been made and seconded. We have, correct me here on Robert's rules, but I think we have a first motion on the floor. that we would need to dispense with before we go to? Go ahead.
Substitute motion must be addressed first.
Substitute first. I haven't given Dr. Strobel an opportunity to wind up the conversation on his motion,
Be very
and I would like you to do that.
Okay, so I just want to deal with a couple of the questions that came up. We keep talking about the fiscal impact. My understanding is that if this is a charter amendment and we're doing something that's charter appropriate, we do not want to supplant the responsibility of the Board of County Commissioners. It would be up to them, and I was specific in saying that it would be subject to annual appropriation, meaning that this is going to be a budgetary decision made by the commissioners. I'm not trying to get into their business. What we are setting is the floor and the standard, which is within our purview is the Charter Review Commission, or committee, I should say. So in terms of does it belong in the charter? The charter is where we deal with structure of the government, and we are talking about structure and how we manage a food system. And again, I do not want to take anything away from the current staff and the work that they are doing, but I believe that we could all benefit and they will benefit from having a coordinated effort that is countywide. No, we cannot coerce or force the school board or other partners into it, but we can set minimum standards as the county, as the previous charter committee did with setting environmental standards amendment. So that is a possibility. There is precedent for that. So with those things said, I would not support the substitute motion because this does belong in the charter. A recommendation simply would not do the necessary steps because we're talking about food. This is an issue that there's no society, there's no civilization. We're not here. We couldn't even get through this meeting without food. So we're talking about something that is extremely important. And I believe that it belongs in the charter to set a value and a statement. And I very carefully mapped out the different aspects of it so that it does not intercede or overrule what the commission is doing, but it sets a base and it sets a mandate for them to carry out. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you very much. All right, the substitute motion at this time then is for option 2, which is to direct staff to include a policy recommendation on food insecurity as determined by our charter review. I'm assuming that would include a lot of what was discussed today.
Point of clarification, because I know they're going to call on me first to vote.
Yeah.
So the motion to bring back draft language, we then have to approve it then after that for it to go before the board. So we still could, if that is not decided to be done, we still could come back to what would then be option 2 after that. Is that correct?
As I understand it, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
there will be another round of discussion on the draft language if that is what the word. Okay, at this point then, we're going to vote on the substitute motion, which is for a policy recommendation. That's option 2. I think I'd like to take a roll call on this, please. Yes, Dr. Robinson?
Could Dr. Strobel's last comments be considered a substitute to the substitute motion?
No, that he was explaining his motion.
Very good.
So pardon me.
I do just have a real quick question on option 2. Will we have an opportunity to review what staff brings back as the recommendation, if it passes, to have some specifics as to what that policy ought to be?
Yes.
I would say absolutely.
Okay, thank
So we want to come back. Mr. Ray?
Yeah, I just wanted, as we go to a roll call vote, I'll be voting no on the substitute motion, not because I disagree with creating recommendations, but because I believe in the underlying motion. So just to clarify that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, a roll call, please. Ms. Otway?
And I just wanted to ask, would the county consider what has been presented by Dr. Strobel?
Policy, yes.
Okay, thank you.
This has been a great discussion. There's been a lot out here. Okay, a roll call vote, please.
Joey Davis,
No.
Linda Bond Edwards,
Yes.
Liz Ellis,
Yes.
Max Hurley,
Nay.
Daryl Jones, Howard Kessler,
No.
Henry Lewis,
No.
Heidi Otway,
Yes.
Sean Pittman, Ryan Ray,
No.
Shamar Earl Roberson,
Yes.
Temple Robinson,
No.
Bruce Strobel,
No.
Jarrett Terry,
No.
Katrina Tuggerson.
I'm gonna pause for a second. We're looking at I just want to make clarity before I say yes.
Policy recommendation
For
number
number
2.
2.
That's a substitute motion. Yes, ma'am.
I had stepped out to the restroom. No.
No. No.
Barry Wilcox,
Yes.
Vice Chair Haynes,
Yes.
Chair Lindley.
Yes.
That's 7 yay, 11 nay.
The motion fails.
Motion fails. We'll go back to Dr. Struvel's original motion. Now, well, you know what? I was just about to ask, we need real clarification on that because I was wandering around thinking you wanted a charter amendment and then I hear, no, committee direction. I know, but it's not necessarily option 3 or option 4. I don't know what it is.
Staff to
honestly.
bring draft charter language.
So it's option 3.
Yes.
I don't know what you mean.
Well, he said.
So this is why I was confused because I thought we were doing 3 originally.
That's, so now, there was a substitute motion while you were away.
To refer to the underlying motion.
So are you saying, this is the language that you have here, and I'm going to read every word of it here in a
This is my
second.
motion, right?
So it is in effect option 4.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because option 3 does not include all this extra stuff. Office of Food System, which are fine, but it's not 3, it's 4.
I think Robert's rules would be just as confused as some of us here are. Okay, so we're going to call this option 4.
A.
4A. Okay, and the motion, I'm going to read it.
Okay.
Everybody? Direct staff to bring back draft charter language establishing a county duty for food access and food system resilience, creating an Office of Food Systems under the county administrator or designee within the executive branch, requiring a county-wide plan with annual reporting, authorizing county-wide minimum standards implemented by ordinance within 12 months of what? Consistent with state law and subject to annual appropriation. Are you talking within 12 months of passing of this
Well,
charter if it passes?
if it was amended to the charter, yeah.
All right, we've got the motion on the floor.
of
I have a question.
And a question, I'm sorry, yeah.
So based on the discussion earlier saying that there would have to be like legislative things that go along. Oh, hold on, that was for the other thing. So with this will go 12 months after the charter, like implementation 12 months after the charter. Like, when would it start? Like, I'm trying to get the fiscal year, would it start? Like, when would this have to be implemented?
What's
Just
the question?
historically, if this is approved on the ballot, ultimately, typically the ordinances go into effect the following January 1.
Oh, okay.
So it'd probably be sooner than that if,
So that'd be 2027,
Okay.
January 27.
Got it.
And so also the county commission has to agree to put this on the ballot. So there's several steps ahead, and we will get the language back on this to discuss, I guess, in January, well, not necessarily January 8. We have quite a few other, okay. Oh, don't say it, you're confused.
I'm not confused, but
Some of us are.
is it possible that we would end up in the review of the analysis back to the more general language in 3?
if that's the will of the committee.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Ms. Edwards?
Ma-
No? All right, Mr. Jones?
Madam Chair, I'd like to offer a substitute motion of option 3.
I would second that.
Substitute motion for option 3.
Yes, I'd second that.
Beg your pardon? No, we did option 2. And motion's been made and seconded for option 3. Would you care to explain?
The reason the recommendation has a great deal of specificity. And I think that can be taken into consideration when the staff comes back to us. But I think that number 3 provides the flexibility and liberality for them to make the staff to bring back best practices and such that we can have the type of charter language that may very well include the recommendation coming in from the original motion, plus also be able to weigh in what the staff would also provide.
Accept that as a friendly amendment.
I beg your pardon?
I would accept that as a friendly amendment.
Is it? this as well.
Hold on, Madam Chair. I mean, I just want to, for clarity, so this is not a substitute motion because the motion we voted on passed. I mean, he can make a motion for option 3, but it's not a substitute motion. Is that?
No, you voted on the substitute motion.
We have not voted on the underlying.
Oh, okay, all right. Okay. Okay, all right,
We
okay,
have
thank
the-
you.
This is a
All right.
completely different motion, Billy, in a sense. It's number 3. It's number 3, and that's what we're going to vote on right now. Yea or nay? Sir?
Could I just ask for the maker of the substitute motion, what is the difference between the substitute and the underlying motion? Oh, thank you.
It's not that language, that whole paragraph that we have. All right, call the roll, please.
Joey Davis,
Yes.
Linda Bond Edwards.
Yes.
Liz Ellis,
Yes.
Max Hurley,
Aye.
Daryl Jones, Howard Kessler,
Yes.
Henry Lewis,
Yes.
Heidi Otway,
Yes.
Sean Pittman, Ryan Ray,
Yes.
Jamario Roberson,
Yes.
Temple Robinson,
Yes.
Bruce Struble,
Yes.
Jarrett Terry,
Yes.
Katrina Tuggerson,
Yes.
Barry Wilcox,
Yes.
Vice Chair Haynes,
Yes.
Chair Lindley.
Yes, ma'am.
Unanimously passed.
Unanimous passed. Okay, okay. We have more items on our agenda today, but if I hear a motion to adjourn,
Point of order.
I'd appreciate that. Sir?
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. I didn't know I needed it. Can we still offer motions? I mean, amendments as members, we do our own round robin?
That would require a 2/3 majority vote to
Oh.
consider something out of order
Oh, okay. All right.
or out of the agenda order.
Okay.
Madam Chair,
You'd be skipping.
Pardon me.
point of
Yes, sir.
inquiry. So I recognize that we're not going to consider more items today, but just to kind of get a picture of, so we have 2 meetings in January, right? And so one is on January 8th, the other is some other 2 weeks after that.
Except for that.
And so right now, the things that we know are going to come before the January 8th meeting are what?
So we will continue to pick up where we left off this agenda. So the items, affordable housing and healthcare will be presented, and then the additional items that are planned. And just for reference, in your agenda materials, the last page does provide we'll say a work plan or a proposal schedule for the remaining items to come back. If they aren't presented at the January 8th meeting, they will be presented at the January 22nd meeting in anticipation of your decision meetings beginning on February 5th.
And those items include?
The Office of the Inspector General,
Right.
the Bill of Rights, and the restoration of community harm proposals.
And
plus the 2 we didn't get to today, and any other things that you all come up with.
Madam,
Will be opportunity for us to make additional charter recommendations.
Yes,
That's right.
Madam Chair, the reason I ask is because we got this agenda 48 hours ago, which I understand, you know, this is a process. And I've reached out to some stakeholders, and I look forward to getting their feedback on it. But I just wanted to make sure that there was a willingness and an understanding from staff that this is going to come on another agenda, and that we may get updated information that would be helpful to be included in that agenda item. So I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to take it.
Updated information on this item that we just voted, or what?
No, on the remaining item.
On the remaining items? Not sure what the staff response would be to
What-
that. I
what-
mean,
the
I
question-
don't understand.
That we have an openness to looking to working with staff when this comes back in January, that the agenda items can be changed in terms of getting additional feedback from other stakeholders. If you all receive feedback from other stakeholders, is it possible that the words on this
Are we aren't really reaching out to other stakeholders on this. I mean, this is our committee to come up with what we think is appropriate for
Right.
either a charter amendment or policy recommendations to the Board of County Commissioners. You all can reach out to all the stakeholders you want to privately, I think, but not for this board to discuss, is my understanding. Is that clear?
So for
We have public
example,
comment? at the
like
beginning? Yeah.
getting specific here. So for example, an attachment, there's, could we have an openness to including attachments from other stakeholders and groups?
I mean, they could provide it as written public comment to be distributed to the
Right.
committee.
Okay,
Yeah, and come speak to us as the members here have as well.
okay,
Yeah,
okay, great, thank you.
but in terms of directing the staff to reach out, I think no, right? Unless,
Yeah, it
we
wasn't
don't
to direct them
staff-
to reach out.
Yeah, they have, they
It's
tell
to
us what.
update agenda items with any feedback gotten from the public and from other stakeholder groups. Right, but so for example, the public comment that we did receive over email is not printed off and is not in front of anyone here.
But it has been distributed to each and every one of you.
Via email, but not the public and not the committee members.
Committee members have it.
Yep, and so that's all. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You guys are a bunch of wonks here, aren't you? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Question, were we supposed to receive the public comment in advance?
Well, there was some public comment that you got that you did receive in your email, I think, yesterday.
About this topic?
No, it was
Okay,
not
all right.
pertaining to this.
Everybody's working pretty fast. To have a meeting every 2 weeks is,
So moved.
the staff is pulling things together fast and getting it to us as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
Without objection, the meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Gonna be a night.
Oh, yeah. Never let it be said thoroughly. It's good.